The rich are clearly far ahead of the middle class and poor in the United States. This isn't just the United States, though it does apply to many Western countries. Take a look at this statistic right here. There are 46 million people in the US that are in poverty. That is an extremely high number. And of course, I've mentioned many times before, 50 million on food stamps, 100 million on some sort of food assistance. This is an extremely alarming figure that people just don't really seem to take notice of because the system continues, because they have their welfare and social security and all these safety nets and all these blankets available to them by the government structure. They are not curious, not caring about it. But when these things are removed, the public will be forced to riot. It happens many times throughout history. Take a look at this. There is mass inequality right here in the US. Of course, this applies to many countries around the world, but take a look at this. You have the highest part of this being the elite, the wealthy, the rich. And they own pretty much all of the wealth. And of course, if you take a look down into middle class, they're supposed to have all the wealth within that middle class. However, they have but a fraction of what the rich do. That's when you know this is going to crumble. That's when you know it's going to crash. And look at this, the Federal Reserve buying up everything in their sight. They're printing up now over $4 trillion worth on their balance sheet that we know of. And of course, they did the audit not too long back, revealing over 16 trillion printed in that limited audit. So their real balance sheet is over 20 trillion probably. I mean, who knows how high it is. And look at what they're buying. They're buying the mortgage-backed securities. They're buying the treasury bonds. They're buying all sorts of different things, so-called assets. I believe they're really nothing more than paper liabilities. However, it is year over year increasing. They can't stop now. The interest rates, which they never mention, the interest rates are all the way down to zero. Now they're talking about tapering $10 billion and making a huge deal of it and saying that look, we're tapering back and look how well everything's still good. Stock market is near the all-time highs. But the point remains is that interest rates are at historic lows and they've been at this level for years. If they were to bring that interest rate up just a little bit, the entire economy would crash. It cannot be absolutely, positively not be sustained at anywhere but zero. They have to print money at extreme rates as they're doing now, buying up everything in sight, handing out money to all sorts of institutions around the world, and look where it's getting them. It's barely getting them anywhere. Now let's go on quickly. I want to talk about just one thing very quickly for people who don't understand this. This is the Federal Reserve right from their website, and these are open market operations. I talked about this many times before. I try to explain it in my consultations to people why this matters. This is a very, very important part. Open market operations are basically, and I won't read it for you here, but I'll just tell you what it is. They print money. This is exactly what it says. They print money to buy up paper garbage, and in doing so, they are able to control the interest rates. That's how this works. They print money, they buy the paper garbage provided by the government, and that manipulates the interest rates. So they can keep interest rates down forever, but in order to do so, they have to print money. In order to print, and when they do that printing money, they're going to increase the inflation. That's the way this works. So ultimately, the only way for them to keep the interest rates down is for them to print money. And they're going to have to continue this, and they're going to have to increase in that money printing. And we all know where that will take us. But according to this, the inflation rate is only at 1.1%. So no matter what the reality is, they're only the real interest rate is only 1%. So, if anyone actually believes that, I think that would be quite a funny joke to tell. Anyway, take a look at this. This is the most important thing I wanted to bring up today, and that is that just like in Cyprus, which is what this is, they can enact some law and then we have to follow it where they restrict our transactions. The Federal Reserve, the Treasury, the US government, and all governments in the West and around the world are in full control and they can lock down the system at any moment. So we have multiple people, many people who are simply not prepared for what is coming. Look at what happened in Cyprus. They are a perfect warning of what is going to happen. They're going to lock down the system. They're going to create a bank holiday, at which point they're going to stick their hands into the account. They're going to pull money out. They're going to restrict your withdrawals. They can devalue the currency. They have many, many options, but we all know that it's coming. Look at the Eurozone falling apart. Look at the unemployment rate in the Eurozone right now. Youth unemployment is in somewhere up to 40% in certain areas. This is an extreme rate. Nobody's concerned about it. Why? Because they still have their job. However, when they become unemployed and that goes on for a year or 2 years or beyond that, and they can't afford to eat and they need to contact their government and they need to get on the food stamp program and so on and so forth, that's when they start getting serious and hopefully they will wake up. But I don't see that happening, and I see people being victims like the unfortunate individuals in Cyprus who lost a lot of their money, and this has been crippling to them even a year later. If you want more information like this, you need to get onto the Money GPS Insiders. That's what I do. I email out occasionally and I send information similar to that is in my book, similar to what you see on the YouTube videos here, and they come to you occasionally in very short tight little emails that I send. So if you want to get on there, go to themoneygps.com, scroll down to the bottom, fill in your email address, and you'll hear from me soon. Take care.